Hey everyone, welcome to the weekly review. This week was kind of dull. We had a bit of a drop, but nothing spectacular. How much was it? 1%. Friday had a bit of an unexpected flush at the close. Didn't really see that coming. And because of that, we're sort of in the middle of nowhere again with no clear bias whether it will go higher or it will go lower. From an index perspective, I don't like the way things look. And from a mega cap perspective, the same. But there are individual names which look great, and it's kind of conflicting because I don't really know what to do in this spot because bias for indexes and mega caps is down, and if those drop, everything else should drop as well. And the reason are as following. So first of all, we have a let, let's turn everything off again. We have a clear bearish divergence on the daily, like new high, and this is a low on a lower high and higher high, RSI versus price. Let's turn stuff back on, and here we have the June range. We have this quarter's range in blue. I'll zoom in a bit. Let's turn off the overlayer. So in blue we have this quarter's range, and because it's the first week of the quarter, it's also the weekly range and also the monthly range so far. Then we have the previous week's range, not this one, and the June range. And we kind of respected the previous week's range uh, this week. We didn't go below it, and let's say we have we are in the middle of nowhere because we're right below the trend line. Let's turn off the AVWAP from the low as well. We are slightly below the AVWAP from the previous low, and bias is somewhat bearish, but I could also see us going back up and do this for a while until the eventual breakdown. Next week we have CPI. The expectation for CPI is that it's gonna be the lowest print ever, and we're gonna go higher because of that CPI print. But I'm kind of questioning that. If we go lower in price in the market, I think yes, we will go higher because of the CPI print. But if we are near the highs when the CPI print comes, I think there's a chance of sell the news event. And this would be my bullish expectation. Like if we go higher, uh, I think both before and after CPI, I think we are capped at around 445, 447-ish, somewhere in that range, somewhat respecting this rising wedge trend line. And the bearish case is a bit more spectacular. Like if we continue down, I would expect we gap down on Monday and open around here. Then, because of the impulse of the movement, we should continue down to around here, and then have an intraday reversal, and then continue higher on turnaround Tuesday. So Monday, gap down, continue down, go to around 426 as the bearish scenario. And on Tuesday, this can also be like on Tuesday pre-market. And on Tuesday, we have a turnaround Tuesday, and we go back higher, and we start pricing in the good CPI and go near the highs as well. Same target as in the bullish scenario. So this is, I think, it's like 70% we get something like this, and only 30% that we continue higher. The moment the market should turn is these 2 days here in the last month, in the first 2 days of OPEX week. This is when I think we get a big turn down and we go back to the 50 MA. But for Monday, gap down, continue down, and then bounce on Tuesday. Okay, let's look at the macro a bit. We have an oil breakout. We have yields breakout continuing from last week. The only piece of the puzzle that is not playing out based on my expectation for H2 is DXY. And I honestly don't have any idea why we dropped on Friday, uh, but it absolutely makes no sense for DXI to be or the US dollar to be weak in this our current circumstance. And the reason is, first of all, with bond selling off, there should be an increased demand of USD. And secondly, the economic situation. We keep hearing about how Chinese economy is not rebounding and it's weak. We see the European economy going downhill and again being weak. And currency strength is about relative economic strength. Uh, if the US has strong economic data, and it does, and don't see this changing anytime soon, and the EU and China don't, then we should see the dollar strengthening relative to those currency. And versus the Chinese yuan, it did. Like now we're reaching a peak, maybe it turns. But versus euro, why the hell is the dollar devaluing versus the euro, given that Europe has a weak economy and the US has a strong economy? I'm assuming it's something to do with I don't know, swaps between central banks, keeping it suppressed for a while. But it's inevitable that the USD will turn back up very soon. And that is the trigger of when stocks will go downhill as well. When all three between yields, oil, and USD turn up, that is when the big drop in equities or will begin. And when I say big drop, I don't mean like the market crash. I mean a 10% pullback, something like that. And we have two of three pieces starting to move. We need the third, and then we will see equities drop as well. Now let's look at the mega caps a bit. Actually, let's look at VIX first, and to make an analogous of the current situation. So we are in the 12 to 16 range. What happened the last time we went into this 12-16 range? And it was this. We fell into it. We went about to the midpoint of the range, maybe a bit lower, and then we had a little breakout which got rejected, but it didn't go back down. First it broke out, we had a close above it, and then it went down again. This is kind of what I expect, why I believe we will have a gap down on Monday, and we first drop before we go back up, and it's a very similar situation now. We dropped, we went slightly below the midpoint. Then we have a breakout that gets rejected. We have another rejection, but we don't go lower as well. So I kind of expect we get Monday and pre-market Tuesday a spike in VIX, maybe get to 18, and then when we start pricing in CPI and the Fed hike for this month, this should go all the way back to 12, and then we get a big breakout move afterwards. But this is kind of how I see things playing out and going hand in hand between SPY and VIX. Now let's look at mega caps. For mega caps, the situation is pretty straightforward. Tesla and Meta specifically had huge volumes on on Friday and Thursday, which failed to move the stock up in a significant way, which is meaningful. And I think even if we go up, it will be short, very short term, maybe just pre-market, and then we begin a drop to to this area. So this is the first gap fill. We may stop here, we may not, but I think the target for the drop is to 45 to 50. Then we have Apple, same kind of situation. I actually think we break this trend line finally and do a move down to here. Let's say, what's this? What level is this? Like 184 to 182-ish. So let's assume we go up, then we drop, and somewhere in this area, maybe this area, we should stop. So 180 is a buy for sure. Nvidia, we have this pennant here. Don't think it breaks out. Most likely that it breaks down and we have a retest of 375. Google, we have this pennant which might be, we can go either way. So don't think, if we got the breakout, go with the breakout regardless of direction. We don't know what the direction will be. I'm assuming it's going to get lower, but because Google is the only one that actually had a more significant pullback from the bigger names, it's unlikely that it will continue down. Mostly, or if it continues down, it's going to be a retest of this low here, like just this. So a fake breakdown, and then it goes up. If it goes up, uh, Google might actually have the stamina to go up and do something like this. Amazon, same kind of situation. Maybe it does this for a while, but it should have a pullback to this area, 120, 122, something like this. Microsoft, we can say that it broke this trend line here. Now it's consolidated above it and got rejected when it reached the upper trend line. So I would assume it at least goes to 325, 320, goes sideways more, a bit more, maybe goes up then. Microsoft is the most solid and of the mega cap names. I don't expect it to drop a lot, so maybe this is how it plays out. Meta, it had a lot of volume. I can see it spiking up to 300 in pre-market or early in the day on Monday, and then it absolutely turns, breaks the trend line, and goes to 270. Netflix, kind of the same situation. Now we get to some. So some I will talk about in the weekly selection because it's on the weekly selection list. We had a spike in volume here. It failed to go below 100 again. I think this was the last attempt, and now we will see a move to 110 basically. This one, just the move to 110. Don't know what happens here. Yeah, that's kind of it. Let's look at Delta as well. So we see the same type of pattern here as here. Price makes a higher high, but Delta does not. Same here. This high here, price makes new high, Delta makes a much lower high. And we are building towards the bigger drop here. OI wise, we can see that there's an uptrend in call OI over time and put OI over time. Now we're seeing that both of them are stagnating and not really moving up. This is quite unusual, and it tends to favor the one that is not in control because of decay. So because we are with lots of calls in the money, if time passes and price goes nowhere, it tends to favor puts because calls get decayed more because they have more delta, and then puts, because call delta decaying causes price to go down, puts go in the money, and they start a cycle that pushes price down. So unless we get to see an increase in call OI similar to this anytime soon, I don't think we will be ready to move up in the market in a meaningful way. Yeah, that's kind of it of relevance for now. Okay, that's it. I'll make the other video about the weekly selection. Have a good day. Bye bye.